All right, let's dive right into this explainer. Today we're going to do something a little bit different. I want you to imagine we're a fly on the wall in a dynamic, incredibly high-stakes whiteboarding session. Standing at the front of the room are two seasoned enterprise cloud architects. We'll just call them Architect A and Architect B. They've been brought in to dissect a massive transformation challenge for a Fortune 500 company. The whiteboard is completely blank. You can practically feel the tension in the room, and we're going to walk through exactly what they map out to understand the true foundation of scalable enterprise cloud architecture.
So, Architect A grabs a marker and writes this million-dollar question dead center on the board. Why do enterprise cloud adoptions fail? You know, it's a trap almost every single enterprise falls into at some point. You spend millions on a migration, you hire the absolute best talent, you pick a top-tier cloud provider, and yet, somehow, the whole initiative just hits a brick wall. Architect A poses this to the room to really set the stakes, because we aren't talking about a server going offline for 5 minutes here. We're talking about systemic, multi-million-dollar, project-halting failures.
And without missing a beat, Architect B fires right back with the blunt truth. It is almost never the technology's fault. I mean, the cloud platforms themselves are incredibly powerful and capable. The actual killer of these massive initiatives? Introducing governance way too late. Technology limitations are rarely the roadblock. The real culprit is the sheer operational chaos that blows up when you let teams just build without a rulebook.
Which brings us to Section 1, the Cloud Adoption Honeymoon and the Inevitable Hangover.
Architect A sketches out a timeline to show just how deceptively easy the start of a cloud journey feels. On day 1, everyone is thrilled. It's the honeymoon phase. Teams are creating projects rapidly. By day 30, resources are being provisioned faster than ever. Developers are ecstatic because they don't have to wait weeks for on-premise hardware anymore. They're completely bypassing the usual red tape. By day 90, different business units, marketing, HR, engineering, they're all adopting the cloud completely independently. It feels like peak productivity. But then, day 150 hits. Bam! The honeymoon abruptly ends and the operational hangover begins. Suddenly, operational complexity skyrockets, and that initial incredible speed, it grinds to a devastating halt.
Moving on to Section 2, when scaling creates chaos.
The architects start trading war stories and detailing some very specific nightmares. First up, identity and access management, or IAM, permissions become just impossibly difficult to manage. You get ghost accounts, overprivileged users everywhere, and absolutely no clear access hierarchy. Then, networking standards become wildly inconsistent across different departments. Architect A chimes in here to add that security visibility becomes completely fragmented. And you know the rule, you can't protect what you can't see, which usually leads to a spectacular panic-inducing failed audit. And finally, literally the CFO's worst nightmare. Cloud costs just spinning wildly out of control because anyone with a company credit card can spin up expensive resources. Basically, when you treat the cloud like the Wild West, a deeply fragmented, highly risky environment takes over. The lack of standardization creates this exact chaos across the entire enterprise. We're talking unstandardized monitoring, uncontrolled costs, and totally fragmented security. Architect B emphasizes a really hard truth here. Without governance, the cloud isn't some shiny competitive advantage. It becomes complex, incredibly risky, and extremely expensive.
All right, Section 3, the Great Governance Myth. The crucial point here is understanding this massive disconnect. On one side, you have the expectation. People hear the word governance and they immediately roll their eyes, thinking of endless approval committees and heavy roadblocks that just kill innovation. But on the other side is the architectural reality. Actually, scratch that, it's more like a superpower. Mature governance models don't slow you down. They actually act as the guardrails that let you drive the car way faster. When developers know exactly what the security and networking standards are up front, they don't have to guess. They don't have to wait around for retroactive approvals. They can just build securely and rapidly.
So, how do we fix it? Section 4, landing zones and foundations.
To stop the bleeding, Architect B introduces the ultimate structural solution, a landing zone. Think of it like pouring the deep concrete foundation for a massive skyscraper. It's a foundational environment pre-configured with your organization's specific rules. It creates operational consistency, which directly reduces your risk. Whether you're dealing with a hybrid cloud setup, multi-cloud architectures, or a really complex Kubernetes platform, the landing zone is the bedrock that keeps the entire thing manageable as you scale across multiple teams and environments.
So, what exactly goes into this foundation? Architect A maps out the specific standards that absolutely must be baked into this landing zone from day one.
You've got your standardized IAM policies and strict security baselines. You need a cohesive networking architecture and unified monitoring. You also need compliance alignment, so you aren't failing those audits, budget controls to stop the financial bleed, and deployment consistency. If you establish these 7 pillars early on, you're essentially giving your engineering teams a safe, pre-approved playground to innovate within.
But what if you just wait? Well, Architect A sighs and shares the incredibly painful, expensive reality of delaying these foundational elements. If you wait until day 150 to implement governance, you're looking at insanely expensive refactoring. You have to launch massive IAM cleanup efforts to revoke all those excessive permissions, and try doing that without breaking production apps. You face highly disruptive security remediation projects and total network redesign challenges. It is a complete operational nightmare. To go back to our earlier analogy, it's literally like trying to pour a concrete foundation after the skyscraper has already been built. There's just no way.
And that leads us to our final section, scaling with true confidence.
When the architects finish setting up the landing zone, this is the final result. Strong governance directly enables scalability, security, reliability, and true operational maturity. It ensures compliance, it totally optimizes your costs, and, completely contrary to the myth, it results in much faster innovation. You aren't just deploying infrastructure anymore at this point. You're designing environments that are truly sustainable for the long haul.
The ultimate takeaway from this whole whiteboarding session? Governance is not a roadblock, it is the foundation. This completely reframes the enterprise mindset. You really have to stop viewing governance as the Department of No and start viewing it as the core engineering discipline that makes hypergrowth possible in the first place.
And Architect A tacks on one last golden rule here. The earlier governance is introduced, the easier cloud adoption becomes later. It should never, ever be an afterthought. It is your day one architectural requirement. If you get it right at the very start, that day 150 hangover, it just never happens.
As the whiteboarding session concludes, I want to leave you with a provocative question to evaluate your own enterprise cloud strategy. Take a hard look at your current environment and ask yourself, are you building on standards or are you just building fast? Because as you've clearly seen today, if you're only building fast, a very expensive collision is just a matter of time. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I highly encourage you to take these insights straight back to your own teams.